2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk the ball.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel. We'll have some guests throughout the show, but for now, it's just me. And here's the headline, everybody. 1 win away from a World Series title. The Dodgers go up 3-0 against the New York Yankees. Walker Buehler dominates. Dave Roberts does his thing. Freddie Freeman, 3 straight games with a home run. But here is our first guest, Marcas Grant of NFL Media, ESPN LA. First time on our show. I've been with him over on the Blue Review. Marcas, they made us sweat at the end, a tiny bit. But other than that, a pretty ho-hum game for the Dodgers.
It kind of was, right? It was sort of business as usual. They come out, they jump on them early, get the Freeman home run to make it 2-0. And then really it was like it has been a lot in this series. It was about the pitching, the starting pitching specifically. You know, I had a good feeling about Walker Buehler coming into this one. He just, for all the struggles he's had this year, he has come up big in big spots. He's the guy who wants the ball in his hands in big situations. And look, just following in what Jack Flaherty did in game 1, what Yamamoto did in game 2, he went out and was lights out. And you're right, he made it sort of, uneventful for 5 innings, which is great. Like you said, they sweated it out at the end, but in the end they get it done. One more win to hoist the trophy.
It's funny how different I feel up 3-0 versus 2. I mean, it makes sense because they're, only 1 win away. But 2-0, you're constantly thinking like, man, if they got 3 road games, like what happens if these go sideways or whatever? Up 3-0. I care nothing about these stats. They did say no team has ever lost up 3-0. No team has even made it to game 6 when down 3-0. But the confidence in this team, because again, everything is clicking. It's the bats when they need them. It's the starting pitching when they need them. And even the bullpen, not at full strength. Evan Phillips not on this roster. Blake Trinan, I guess technically available, but trying their hardest to stay away from him. And even with guys like Ryan Brazier, Anthony Bonda, Daniel Hudson thrust into big spots, they did just enough to get this game over the line.
Yeah, no, absolutely they did. It's funny you talk about being up 2-0 versus 3-0, and I sort of am with you on that, right? Because at 2-0, your mind sort of wanders, right? Like what happens if Buehler goes south? Do they just let him wear it and try to eat up as many innings as possible? Or do you get into the bullpen and then that sort of messes up what your plan is potentially for game 4? Then all of a sudden you might be shorthanded. I mean, your mind goes in so many different places. The fact that they came out and got it done means you don't have those worries. So now you're set up for a bullpen game in game 4. A chance really to sort of lock this thing down. And I thought what was interesting after I think it was actually after game 1, before game 2, I should say. And I don't remember if it was Derek Jeter or Alex Rodriguez, but on the pregame show made the point that during the regular season, if you're the Yankees, that, you might have stretches where you're not playing well and you lose a game or you lose a couple of games, but you look across the field and you look at the other team and you say, okay, we're a better team. We're just not playing well right now. Well, they look across the field in the other dugout in this series, and they see a team that is as good or possibly better than them. And so there isn't just this feeling of, hey, guys, we can just play better and win. Now it's like we really have to turn this thing up just to stay even. And so far, the Yankee bats have done really nothing. I mean, you had them take a lead in game 1. Since then, they have been absolutely dominated for the rest of this series.
Yeah, top 3 in the Yankees order, Torres, Judge, and Soto, 0 for 9. Stanton goes 2 for 4. Then you've got an 0 for 4 from Jazz and 0 for 4 from the catchers as well. Lots of 0 fors everywhere you look. And I'm with you. I mean, if you're the Yankees, you've now lost in probably the 3 most devastating ways. You give up a come-from-behind home run and blow the lead twice in game 1. You load the bases and give yourself all the hope in the world in game 2 and then can't close it out. And then in game 3, you basically get suffocated to death. I know they get the home run with 2 outs in the 9th, but I don't know what game 4 has in store. I don't know what the next painful way to lose the game is. I guess 15-0 or something, like it's a blowout. That's the only thing left on my bingo card, Marcas.
No, that really is. That's the only thing that the Dodgers haven't done is just run the Yankees out of the building. And I mean, you sort of wonder, look, you got to think a team that won as many games as the Yankees did, that had as much talent as the Yankees did, put up a fight and try to prevent a sweep, especially on their home field. But I don't know about you, Jeff. I was thinking about this the other day. This Yankee lineup sort of reminds me of some of the Dodger lineups in recent years, the ones that didn't quite get it done, where you had, two or three guys in the middle of the lineup that you were really counting on to sort of make everything happen. And if one of those guys isn't hitting, it's glaring. I mean, all the years that Dodger fans were so frustrated because Cody Bellinger wasn't able to get it done. It's sort of what this Yankee lineup feels like, that it's going to be Soto, Judge, and Stanton that really drive this thing. And with Judge being in such a massive slump in the postseason, it's glaring because now you got Soto. If you can somehow avoid Soto getting on base, you feel good about attacking Judge. And then, worst case scenario, you give up a solo bomb to Stanton, but the damage has been limited. And that's kind of what it feels like with these Yankees.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Dodgers did a great job of turning over the order, getting outs when they needed to, because even as the game went on, I kept counting down, okay, just don't let Soto, Judge, or Stanton come up with a chance to tie the game. And they never did. Either Soto was making the third out or Torres was making the third out. And even in the ninth, I'm counting down, okay, 6 hitters before they get to Soto. We just got to not give up 3 runs or put guys on base. They almost did. I know we've got you only for a few more minutes, so let's talk Walker Buehler because that has to be the storyline. We know what his record is in the postseason, in the World Series in particular. It's now like 18 innings. His second scoreless outing in World Series history. What's crazy to me, Marcus, anybody that has followed a show that's been covering Walker Buehler knows the fastball has not been the fastball at any point. He just found a way to make the fastball again tonight because he was just blowing them by, dudes. I think they said in the first 2 or 3 innings, he had 4 whiffs on that pitch, which was more than he had in any start this season. I don't know what else to say other than this guy looked like peak Walker Buehler tonight.
Yeah, no, Butane was back tonight, and it was great to see. And I wasn't sure it was going to be that after the first inning. I mean, he got through it scoreless. He had a lot of movement, especially on the slider, but he wasn't getting a lot of chases. And I wasn't sure if he actually had that swing and miss stuff. He gets out of the first inning. He comes back through the second. And then by the third, he was just locked in and absolutely cruising through the rest of the ball game. And he did. He absolutely looked like the old Walker Buehler. I know he said before that he likes pitching in the cold. Apparently that was the truth because once he got ready to go, the Yankees were just baffled. And so, look, I don't know what the future is with Walker Buehler with the Dodgers. There's a chance this may have been the last time we see him pitch in a Dodger uniform. If that was the case, it's a hell of a way for him to make his last appearance for the Dodgers.
Yeah, he finishes with 9 whiffs on 29 swings. He got 6 whiffs on 13 swings on his fastball. Just think about that. Like, this is a pitch that has been non-competitive and has been batting practice when it has been in the zone. 13 swings, 6 of them for whiffs, 4 foul balls. So 10 times that they swung at his fastball, it was a strike, either a swinging miss or a foul off for Walker Buehler. And that combined with Freddie Freeman. I mean, this guy, Marcus, he was out of game 6 because he wasn't healthy in the NLCS. A week later, I think they said he hadn't hit a home run in 41 days. Well, he's now hit 3 in 4 days. He's running away with the World Series MVP. And I don't even know what to say. I mean, that swing turning on that fastball in the first inning, it's one of the prettiest swings I've ever seen. And he just continues to come through in the biggest moments for the Dodgers.
Oh, he's been fantastic. And you're right. He right now is the clubhouse leader for World Series MVP, home runs in each of the first 3 games. And it's the little things, though. It's him going first to third on a base hit on that bad ankle, right? I mean, defensively, he hasn't had to make a big play. Thankfully, that was a fear of mine that at some point defensively it might become an issue. That hasn't been the case just yet, but he really has been a turning point in the middle of the lineup. Especially like Shohei hasn't really hit in this World Series. I mean, Mookie has been fine, but Freddie Freeman has really just been the guy to pick everybody up in the batting order.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, and then the Dodgers, it's Mookie Betts with a great read from Tommy Edman at second base to score on a bloop single. It's Gavin Lux scoring from second base after stealing second base. In like a 3-pitch sequence, Gavin Lux goes from hit by pitch to stealing second to scoring on a single. And it's just those little things because you flip the script and then Giancarlo Stanton, when he tries to score from second base, which first of all, Marcus, I can't believe that's top speed. I know you do a lot of NFL talk. Like, I mean, that guy, we got left tackles that are running circles around Giancarlo Stanton at that speed.
I mean, I was shocked that they sent him knowing that, that he just can't really run right now. And maybe it was the Yankees feeling like they had to get a run and trying to put some pressure on the defense. But Stanton, I saw, a still shot of it. When the ball got to Teoscar, Stanton wasn't even at third base yet. And I don't know if he ran through a stop sign or if they really sent him, but it really wasn't close. He never got to home plate, when Will Smith laid that tag on him.
Yeah, and I joked it was Teoscar not exactly known for his fielding versus Stanton not exactly known for his running. It was a battle of epic proportions, but credit to Teoscar, 96 miles an hour, absolutely perfect throw, great tag by Will Smith to get him there. And those are the little things where it feels like the moment that you feel like the Yankees are going to get some momentum, either it comes back to bite them and is squished out immediately, or it's too little too late. It's the 2-out home run from Verdugo. It's loading the bases with 2 outs in the 9th in game 2. Last thing I want to chat with you about before we let you go, I have to ask about Dave Roberts. A masterclass from Dave Roberts tonight. I know there's some criticism of the decision to bunt with Tommy Edman, but pretty much other than that, knowing that Treinen you're trying to stay away from, again, Evan Phillips not on this roster. He makes a bunch of big calls to take out Walker Buehler when he does, not let him face the top of the order a third time. I thought the way he got through the order with Gratterall, Vesia, Hudson, Bonda, Brazier, I just felt like he pressed all the right buttons. There was some criticism of the decision to go with Brazier. That works out perfectly. So give me your thoughts on Dave Roberts and kind of what he did tonight to, again, separate himself from Aaron Boone, who continues to make unbelievable decisions with his bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, look, since the DS, since the series against the Padres, I've just been trust Dave. That has been my mantra. I didn't love the decision to bunt. I thought you were sort of giving up an out in what potentially could have been a big inning there, and you end up not getting anything out of it at all. But, for me...
Did you think Lux was safe, by the way?
On the replay, yeah, I did. But I'd also, again, coming from the NFL world where everything has to be conclusive in order to get overturned, I knew it was going to be tough to get it overturned a little bit. And even if it had gone the other way, I didn't love the decision. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, that's one small move in what has been, I think, a nearly perfect postseason for Dave Roberts. The way that he's managed the bullpen, especially considering that had been the big criticism of him for so many postseasons, of how he handled the pitching staff, considering he has gotten pretty much every decision right in this postseason. I think if there's one he wants to have back, it was probably Game 5 against the Mets. I remember he said, afterwards, he's like, if I knew Andy Pages was going to hit 2 home runs, maybe I would have tried to manage that one differently. But he's done so many things right that even the bunt I can sort of overlook, because in the end, they go out and get a win anyway.
Yeah, and it almost worked, right? If Gavin Lux is called safe and the replay comes back, and it was one of those weird ones where everybody knows he was safe, but we have no proof that he actually was safe because the dirt was flying in every single direction possible. But again, just the way he was. Did you have any issue? I was going to say everything he did with the bullpen seemed good to me. Mm-hmm. Did you have any issue with taking Walker Buehler out when he did?
No, not really. The Yankees were starting to get some good swings on him. I felt okay not having him go back through the order another time. No, I was fine with them making the decision to go to the bullpen when they did. It's interesting to see how he sort of manages around, as you mentioned, trying to not use Treinen, not having Phillips, saving Kopech to the 9th. I think for the most part he's done a really, really good job. You can nitpick here and there, but I think he's really had a fantastic postseason.
Yeah, the Brazier one I think was probably the one that people were most confused by, because you're thinking, well, surely you're going to go get your best arm in Kopech for those guys. But we talked last night on our show about how those guys destroy four-seam fastballs. And the problem with Vesia and Kopech, the two best relievers the Dodgers have, all they throw is four-seam fastballs, basically. So I actually wasn't totally surprised that they had went to Brazier. I still would have gone Kopech, but I understand the decision to go to Brazier there. Marcus Grant, we appreciate you joining us. Let folks know where they can find you on social media and the radio, NFL, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter is the best place. Marcas G, MarcasG. It's kind of the clearinghouse for all the stuff. But the NFL Network on NFL Fantasy Live 4 days a week. You can find me on the Blue Review. I know, Jeff, you've been on there a few times with me and corporate Greg Bergman most mornings, 8:30 to 8:55 on ESPN LA on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. That's it, man. We're if things go well, we only have 2 more Blue Review shows left in the can. If things go right, it's tomorrow, it's Thursday, and that's it.
Let's hope. Let's hope. Let's hope. Let's just get this thing over with. We had people asking us, hey, don't you want him to win it in LA? I'm like, no, I want this thing over as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Don't mess around. Don't give them any life. Just continue to step on them, and let's just close this out tomorrow.
All right, Marcus Grant. Marcus, we appreciate you hopping on for a little bit with me, saving me from a full hour by myself.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Take care, man. We'll have you on again soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's get to some of these super chats. Apologies, everybody who sent those in. We wanted to get Marcus on here. He had 15 minutes, and so we wanted to make the best use of that time. Marcus is a good dude, so we appreciate him hopping in. Matt Moreno is going to be on with me, so don't worry. You're not stuck with 45 more minutes of just me. But shout out to the 3,200 people in the chat with us tonight. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We greatly appreciate you again. Dodgers up 3-0 on the New York Yankees. Some interesting decisions about what they do from a pitching staff perspective tomorrow that I'm sure we will get to, but let's get to some of these super chats. Tim G says, Freddie doing MVP things. Ice Cube is greater than Fat Joe. I'll start with Freddie. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what this guy is doing. 3 home runs in 3 games. He's single-handedly, I mean, we're not talking about a lot of guys in the Dodgers offense that actually haven't been awesome. They've been okay, but not awesome, because Freddie Freeman keeps hitting home runs that sort of take the blame off of everybody else. So Freddie's been incredible. As for Ice Cube versus Fat Joe, that's a tough look. That's a tough look. I knew we had game 3 in the bag when Fat Joe came out, because you can't come off of Ice Cube absolutely crushing it coming out of center field and then bring Fat Joe onto the field to do whatever Fat Joe did. Silence in the stadium by all accounts. Brutal stuff for Fat Joe. So shout out to the Yankees for that. We appreciate it, because that was a bad look, and it set the tone for everything that was to come. 300 GJW. Buehler was magnificent tonight. One more win. Couldn't agree more on Walker Buehler. Again, looking at some of his pitch breakdowns, he throws 34 four-seam fastballs. That's 45%. 19 knuckle curves, 10 cutters, 9 sweepers, 2 sinkers, and 2 changeups. Just mixed and matched. He kind of was able to throw all those pitches where he wanted. The fastball was in the zone 70% of the time. Curveball almost 50, cutter 50. So he's able to throw those pitches in the zone to get swing and miss. Again, 9 whiffs on 29 swings, most coming on the 4-seam fastball. Just looking at the velocity on that pitch, it was actually down from his yearly average. 94.6 was the average tonight, 95 on the season. Spin was up a little bit. So I don't fully know how to explain why that pitch was so much more effective, but shout out to Walker Buehler for getting it done. Ivan with the super chat. Insane how confident I am right now. Like, I don't know how to act. I'm with you. I joked at the beginning of this show. 3-0 is so much different than 2-0. 3-0 feels like a mountain. It feels like everything is going to have to go wrong for the Dodgers to not mess this up. And yet, I refuse to be confident, Ivan. I refuse. I will be an anxious mess all day tomorrow. I will be an anxious mess at 5:07 when I turn on Fox Sports 1 for the very first time. Look, it's crazy. I didn't see this coming. This wasn't on my bingo card. Let's just hope, cross our fingers, that this series gets ended quickly. Big Bob Johnson, first true Dave Roberts mistake. Tommy should not have been bunting. We survived it, though. Let's go, baby. One more win, 9th inning, killing me the last 2. Look, the Edman bunt, there's 2 things at work here. First of all, Tommy Edman, almost all of the damage he has done this season has been against left-handed pitching and not against right-handed pitching. That's part of it that has to be mentioned. And so when it comes to Tommy Edman, when he's facing a righty, there's a reason he's batting 9th. There's a reason that I think they're considering the bunt. 2 pieces of information. It wasn't a great bunt. Didn't get it out far enough. And again, secondly, if they call that safe, I don't think we're having a conversation critiquing the decision. I know what we're doing here. I know that it didn't work out, but again, a lot of these decisions are 60-40, 55-45. And I just think I understand the decision. I understand why people are complaining and why saying we shouldn't have been bunting. But again, if Lux gets called safe, this whole thing is going sideways. 9th inning killing me. Look, you and me both. The idea that Juan Soto almost came up as the game-tying run in this game, hard pass. Jonathan, Dodgers bullpen and offense haven't looked dominant like they did in Game 3 of the NLDS. They're beat up. I'm more worried than I thought possible at 3-0. So there you go. Let's get Jonathan and Ivan. We'll get you guys in a room together. We'll talk about confidence. This is the beauty of the Dodgers team. The offense carried them against the Mets. The bullpen carried them against the Padres, and now starting pitching has been the storyline in the World Series so far. And there's still more to come. Like the offense, if you told me the offense is going to score 10 tomorrow, would anybody be surprised? We know they have it in them. Just a matter of if they're going to be able to tap into it. But again, they're up 3-0. If ask Yankees fans how they feel about their starting pitching, their bullpen, and their offense right now. Ours haven't looked dominant. Theirs haven't even shown up in most of those situations. Shelly with the super chat. Amazing Dodgers defense and pitching. That was the difference. Yeah. I mean, credit to Walker Buehler. Again, 5 innings. I said beforehand, whoever gets to the bullpen first is probably going to win. Tonight, that was the Dodgers, partially because of Walker Buehler, partially because of guys like Freddie Freeman, who was able to just work counts and get that home run. Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman, each with a walk. They 6 walks for the Dodgers. They only had 5 hits tonight, but 6 walks for them. They were 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position and still win this game. Laura, some more confidence. Dodger fans, can we start planning for a parade? I'm starting to get there, Laura. I'm trying to keep myself. I don't want to get my hopes too high up, but 3-0. Again, they said on the broadcast, no team in World Series history has gone up 3-0 and not won the World Series. No team has gone up 3-0 and even survived to a game 6. It's over in 4, 80% of the time, and it's over in 5 the other 20% of the time. And so there's good vibes for the Dodgers, good vibes for the Dodgers. Jose, in the words of the immortal Daft Punk, one more time. Work's not done. One more to go. Go Dodgers. Yeah, it's one. And we're going to get into the pitching. I'm curious. This is where I want to have a conversation with the chat. What do the Dodgers do from a pitching perspective tomorrow? I think there's a couple options. Option number 1 is it's Honeywell, it's Knack, and it's Kasperius. And you basically preserve the bullpen for the need as needed for game 5. Give all the guys who pitched today a rest and just see if you can get it done with 3 of your quote unquote bulk guys. Look at those 3 and say, hey, can we get 6, maybe 7 innings out of those 3? That's option 1. Option 2 is you try and step on the throat and you try and just put this game away while you have it. You don't want the Yankees to get any confidence. And so it's all of your best guys coming back tomorrow. You look at the Dodgers pitchers tonight. Daniel Hudson, 22 pitches. Brazier, 22. Kopech, 24. Gratterall, 18. I would imagine Hudson not available tomorrow. Treinen, of course, would be, and all those other bulk guys. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see what the Dodgers do. I said last night if the Dodgers were to win tonight, that I would go with the 3 long guys. I would go Knack. I would go Kasperius. I would go Honeywell and just see what happens. If you get a lead, then you start going to your high leverage guys, maybe in the 5th inning, like you would normally. But if it ends up you're down 4-0 or something like that, then you just say, hey, you guys get us 27 outs. We'll save everybody else for the future. So I'm curious if that's what the Dodgers end up doing, but we will see once stuff is announced tomorrow. Let's go to Scott Newhouse here with the $10 super chat. Scott, we appreciate it. Jeff, who do you feel most confident in closing out the 9th? Still Treinen. I said Treinen last night, and he didn't pitch tonight, although he was available. It's hard because, like we talked about last night, and this is why they went to Brazier, it's all about the pitch mix. Kopech and Vesey are the 2 best relievers they have, not named Blake Treinen, but both those guys are exclusively 4-seam fastballs, which Aaron Judge and Juan Soto absolutely murder. Now, what's interesting is Gratterall got those guys the first time through, and he throws a 2-seamer / sinker, which those guys also crush sinkers. I think they were the top 2 hitters in the league, but I guess maybe you're thinking if they crush them, it's not going to be home runs. Maybe it's doubles and singles, that kind of a thing. So all that to say, especially with Treinen not pitching tonight, he's still at the top of my trust tree, if you will, just because of the way his pitch mix lines up with Soto and Judge and Stanton. Those guys don't like spin. We talked about last night how sliders against Soto are the best pitch against him. Obviously, we've seen what spin stuff does to Aaron Judge when it comes from a guy like Blake Treinen. So we appreciate the super chat, Scott, but I would say yes. Blake Treinen would still be my top choice. Maybe it's Alex Vesia, my second choice. And then from there, honestly, it might be Gratterall. After what I saw from Kopech and Gratterall tonight, I'm not totally opposed to moving either Kopech down a little bit or Gratterall up a little bit. I mean, and heck, even Ryan Brazier, he threw an inning with 2 strikeouts tonight. So we'll see. We'll see. It's hard because in the postseason, you don't want to totally overreact to small sample size, but you're also reacting to the specific guys who are going to see these specific pitchers again. So it's not random. It's like, well, we've seen how Aaron Judge looks against Blake Trinan. We've seen how, Juan Soto looks against Brusdar Graterol, that kind of a thing. So great question. We appreciate you, Scott, for tuning in and joining us. Swaggy C, do you think the Yanks panic and pitch Cole game 5? I'm guessing he's asking about game 4. I can't imagine you do if you're the Yankees, only because you need to win game 5 also. I mean, Cole will pitch game 5. The question I think being asked here is, will he pitch game 4? And he sent it. Swaggy C updated. Thank you for 2 super chats. I would say no, for the same reason Manaea didn't pitch against the Mets. I understand if you move a guy up, if you only need 2 more wins and you have guys you can throw behind, but moving Cole up just to get game 4 and then to leave yourself shorthanded in game 5, I don't think that's really the move. The Yankees bullpen has not been good. So you just got to trust Luis Gil in game 4, hope that Cole in game 5, and then, Rodon and then Clark Schmidt again in game 6 and 7, cross your fingers that you get all that done. So I think it's a fair question, but because it's 3-0, I would say no. Roy with the super chat. One more to go. Your thoughts on the Edman bunt with first, third, and no outs. Didn't get it because he's been clutch. Yeah, I shared earlier. I think it's a 55-45 type decision. Edman against righties has not been super effective from that side of the plate, the left-handed side of the plate. So that's why he's batting 9th. That's why I think he's bunting. I joked earlier, if Gavin Lux scores, are we having this conversation? Yes, I think we are. I think we're still asking whether it was the right decision. Again, it wasn't a well-executed bunt. He still almost scored. But I understand the criticism of it. I think with the bunt, the one thing you do is you guarantee an opportunity for Shohei Ohtani to come up in that situation. You can't hit into a double play. That said, that was with nobody out. So you're trying to get as many guys on base, I guess, for Shohei Ohtani, but I understand the criticism of it. I'd probably take my chances with Edman. I'd have to go back and look. The one thing I wondered is was the infield in? I know they were in on the corners for the bunt, but I wonder if he had grounded out to shortstop in the top of the 4th, if they would have tried to turn the double play or get the run at home. So those are the things I'm asking, but I thought it was an okay, fine decision that, like I said, almost worked out. So thank you for the super chat, Ryan. Miel, pitching disadvantage, say no more. Walker pitched a gem. It's true. It's true. I've defended the Yankees had a pitching advantage and the Dodgers have not pitched like it. The Dodgers have been not just good, they have been incredible. There is not a single guy that has pitched for the Dodgers that I think has not exceeded expectations. Even last night, Scott and I said 5 inning, 1 earned for Walker Buehler last night. He throws 5 shutty tonight with just 2 hits and 5 strikeouts. Think about this. In the last 2 games against Dodgers starting pitchers, the Yankees have 3 hits. Against Yamamoto and Buehler in 11 innings? They have 3 hits total in 11 innings against Dodgers starting pitchers. So, the Dodgers starting pitchers took it personally when folks like me said the Yankees had a slight starting pitching advantage. I like this, Kevin. You've been consistent with this question, which I appreciate. Dodgers' chances to win the World Series, I would say high. History would tell you 100%. It's never happened that a team has blown a 3-0 lead in the World Series. The Yankees are good. Crazier things have happened, could happen in sports, not in baseball, not in the World Series. But man, as a lot of people in the chat have said, Kevin, it's hard not to be confident. Yeah, it's hard not to be. It's hard not to be. Big Bob with one last super chat here. Muncy batting 7th, 8th, or 9th tomorrow. He looks lost. Yeah, I thought Muncy was going to have a good series. Short porch, righty on the mound. I was expecting big things, but yeah, him and my guy Will Smith continue to look lost. My guy Will Smith deserved the walk with the bases loaded. We could say that out loud, but when you don't get it and you ground the next one back to the pitcher, it's a tough look. So Kike Hernandez, 2 hits. Again, it's easy to forget. The Dodgers only had 5 hits tonight. Ohtani 0 for 3, Mookie 1 for 4, Freddie 1 for 3, Teo 1 for 4. And then from there, Muncy 0 for 3, Smith 0 for 4, Lux 0 for 2, hit by pitch and a walk, 2 for 4 for Kike, and 0 for 3 with a walk for Tommy Edman. So really the entirety of the Dodgers offense has been a struggle, has been tough to watch. And so, again, shout out to the Dodgers pitching for surviving, for keeping this thing alive, because this is the thing. This is what makes me so confident in this team, and what I would say I'm, proud seems like the wrong word, but I said it earlier. The bullpen won them the Padres series. The offense won them the Mets series. And now the starting pitching is on the verge of winning them the World Series. And to have a team that all three elements of the roster are able to contribute and are able to make this thing go so that if one is down, the other one picks it up. That's the mark of a great team. And that's the mark of Andrew Friedman building a roster that despite all of the injuries, despite everybody that's not on this roster, they've still been able to get it done, right? Keep in mind, Vesia and Gratterall, two of their best guys now, weren't even on the NLCS roster. Evan Phillips is not on the World Series roster. Those are the pieces that I think make this such a compelling story, such a team effort. You know, we talk about Freddie Freeman being the potential World Series MVP. He seems like a runaway favorite for that. But like, think about all of the guys who have contributed. Tommy Edman, NLCS MVP. Muncy, who we were just talking about, he reached base 16 out of 26 at bats in the NLCS. Mookie Betts has an OPS over 1,000 since like in the last 5 or 6 games. The back half of the NLCS, the front half of the World Series, Mookie Betts has kind of figured things out. Teoscar Hernandez with some big hits at various points in this series as well. And then you've got the pitching. Walker Buehler, Jack Flaherty, Yamamoto, all throwing gems. Yamamoto in Game 5 in the NLDS, and then again in this series. And so you just like move all the pieces around, check every box that this team could possibly check. And that's the Dodgers. That's why they continue to be successful. And again, I can't say enough about the way that Andrew Friedman has built this roster and every element of it's contributing. It's Kike Hernandez going 2 for 4 at the bottom of the lineup and turning things over, right? It's Anthony Bonda, who was a scrap heap pickup that's contributing big time. Ryan Brazier, scrap heap pickup. You know, Daniel Hudson, who they never gave up on. They continued giving him a chance despite the knee surgeries, despite the obvious thing being to retire. And he comes in, he gets 2 outs, both of them via the strikeout tonight, right? Alex Vesia comes over via trade. You could go down the list. Michael Kopech comes over via trade of where all these guys came from, right? Bottom of the lineup, Edman, trade. Kike Hernandez signed in free agency. Gavin Lux, Will Smith, both drafted. Max Muncy, picked up off the scrap heap. Teoscar Hernandez, free agency. Chris Taylor, trade / picked up off the scrap heap. Freddie Freeman, free agency. Mookie Betts, trade. Shohei Ohtani, free agency. It's like every element of roster building has been utilized in order to take advantage of moments like this. And again, we're not even talking about Evan Phillips, who's not on this roster, scrap heap pickup, right? Like Kasparius, a guy they've developed up through the system. Knack, a guy they've developed up through the system. Honeywell, picked up off the scrap heap. They continuously find these guys in every way possible. And when the margins are as thin as they are in the World Series, right? Game 1, game 2 could have gone either way. This was the first one that felt, you know, it was stress-free until the last 2 batters, basically. But the first 2 could have gone either way. And it's the little moments, the little decisions by Dave Roberts, and it's the small roster advantages that the Dodgers have at the bottom of their lineup and in the front or back end of their bullpen that have been the difference in this one. So shout out to Andrew Friedman for constructing it, Dave Roberts for organizing it, because it has been incredible stuff. Let's do a quick recap here. Again, Walker Buehler, the star of the game tonight, 5 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs for Walker Buehler with 5 strikeouts. And the thing that was crazy was he just never was really running into trouble. The bottom of the 4th was where things sort of got dicey for him. He hadn't allowed a hit in the first 3 1/3. He gives up the double to Stanton. Mookie makes a diving catch in right field, and then Stanton gets thrown out on a single by Volpe to left field. So other than that, you get down to the 5th, it was just back to being ho-hum, Walker Buehler pumping through the lineup. And so I can't say enough. I mean, to go 5 innings against this lineup, I know they've been down bad, but against this lineup, to not allow a hit in the first 3 1/3, to really have one scoring opportunity, as John Smoltz said, and we know, everybody knows my opinion on John Smoltz and what he's been like in this World Series in particular. But what he said about doing this in this park in Yankee Stadium, where the porches are as short as they are. I mean, even Alex Verdugo's home run, that ball's a 325-foot pop-up that just happens to inch over the wall because of where it is. The fact that Buehler was able to be effective in this park on this night, in this moment, unbelievable stuff from Walker Buehler. As for the bullpen, group effort. Gratterall, Vesia, Hudson, Bonda, Brazier, Kopech. They scratched together 12 outs to close this game out. 1 hit allowed from Gratterall, 1 hit allowed from Hudson, 1 hit allowed from Kopech, and that was it. That was it. 6 strikeouts from that group in 4 innings, and a bunch of zeros put up by everybody other than Michael Kopech in this one. Gratterall again got the heart of the order, and then Brazier got the heart of the order as well. There was one other decision that Dave made that I'm guessing there was in real time some questioning, the decision for Alex Vesia to just throw 4 pitches and get 1 hitter. We were talking about it on a group text, and I initially I wasn't surprised. I said, somebody asked, like, are they really going to have him come in for 1 batter and then bring him back? I said, honestly, I think he might just be for 1 batter because he hasn't pitched in so long, as far as missing the entire NLCS, them probably wanting him available. I was surprised they didn't go back to him. It almost came back to bite them. And yet, if you know you're going Brazier for the heart of the order, you can make decisions like that because you've got Hudson, you've got Bonda, and you've got Kopech. Thankfully, they didn't end up needing Treinen in that one as well. So this is the beauty. The Dodgers had one guy in the pen that wasn't awesome. That was Kopech, who gives up the 2-run home run to Verdugo. But the rest of the guys, good enough, getting out of jams, working around traffic. So shout out to them. And again, the other headline that we need to talk about is the guy, Freddie Freeman, 1 for 3 with a walk. And of course, the 2-run home run in the top of the first inning, a 4-pitch walk for Ohtani, and then a home run for Freddie Freeman. I mean, you want to talk about Yankee Stadium, years and years and years that they've waited for this team to be back in the World Series, the energy, the anticipation, the desire of the fan to say, hey, we want to get behind these guys. We want to fire up the team. We want to give them the energy they need. And what does Freddie Freeman do? Top of the first inning, that team is down 2-0, right? Down 2-0 immediately. And we know what that felt like playing the Padres. How many times did the Dodgers go down in the first inning before they ever got up? And it felt so demoralizing. It felt so helpless at times. And yet that's what Freddie Freeman does in that moment. And it just doesn't feel like the Dodgers were able to get things going at any point. Or excuse me, the Yankees were just from behind the 8 ball the entire game. It felt like Walker Buehler combined with Freddie Freeman. Again, the Dodgers tack one on in the 3rd when Tommy Edman walks, advances to second on a stealing while Ohtani grounds out, and then Mookie Betts an RBI single. Again, kudos to Tommy Edman because that ball bloops into right field, and off the bat, he had an incredible read to score from second base in that one. 3rd inning, by the way, the other key moment, because after Mookie singles, Freddie walks, Muncy walks, and Will Smith is up with the bases loaded. 3-1 count. Ball's outside. Ball 4 gets called a strike. Everybody knows I love Will Smith. I've tried my hardest to defend him. He's been terrible for the most part. He's had some big moments, but for the most part, he's been terrible. And yet, it's a tough one. It's like a guy for that, you just want him to catch that break. He doesn't catch it. It's a borderline pitch that the umpire was all over the place. And so you kind of can't expect to get that call. You hope to get that call, but he doesn't get it. He ends up grounding out. They strand the bases loaded. In the 4th inning, some more runners stranded on base, a leadoff walk for Lux, a single that Kike scores. And then advances him to 3rd. And then that's the Edman bunt situation. Ohtani strikes out. Mookie flies out with runners on. The Dodgers tack one on in the 6th. Lux with a 1-out, 2-strike hit by pitch, steals second, scores on an RBI. Single from Kike Hernandez. And from there, the Dodgers offense pretty much went silent. They had runners on 1st and 3rd with 2 outs in the 7th. Muncy strikes out. They get the generous Anthony Bonda strike call in the bottom of the 7th that, look, if you're in New York, that's going to be the talking point, right? The only thing you can really hold on to is that Bonda strike 3 call against Torres. And yet, who knows if it would have mattered. Again, they get 2 runs with 2 outs in the 9th on an Alex Verdugo home run. Shout out to Alex Verdugo, by the way, for pimping a home run down 4-0 in the World Series. But that's our guy Doogie. So do you, buddy, do you. All right, folks, let's get some questions in here. If you've got any questions, throw those in the chat. Again, Matthew Moreno should be joining me here momentarily. It sounds like Scott Geirman, who's getting off of work, will be here shortly as well. Might have some fun. Might have some friends hop in to celebrate the Dodgers going up 3-0. Shout out to Matt Moreno, by the way, posting the reason that we get all of our content up so quickly, all the press conferences, post-game interviews, all of that kind of thing, is because our guy Matt is grinding right now. So shout out to him. Shout out to Blake Williams, who is at the game in New York covering it for us. I can't wait. I told him we need a vlog of all the pizza that he's been eating. That's what I'm saying. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get our guy to report on that or not. Carlos says, "Are you coming to the parade?" There's no parade scheduled yet, Carlos. Okay, we're slow playing our optimism over here. We're optimistic, but we're not making plans. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe. That'd be fun. I'll say that. That'd be fun. I have not been to a World Series parade again. DM doesn't like my Will Smith love. It is what it is. This is the guy who had a 2-run home run in Game 6 of the NLCS. RBI, sac fly in game number 1. He's been bad, but he hasn't been awful in all situations. He's had some big hits in the series as well. Just hasn't been perfect. Larry says, you have to pick one, Jeff. Dodgers World Series, Ducks National Championship. It's the Dodgers. This sport is absolutely excruciating to watch. I would love both of these things. These are the 2 teams that I care the most about by far. The Raiders would probably be up there, but they suck so bad that it doesn't even feel possible. But the Dodgers having to live through this, because I get to do this for work and because I follow this team so closely, because I get to come on this show, win or lose, and talk Dodgers baseball with you all, it's definitely the Dodgers. But the Ducks are second. Raiders are third. Ducks basketball maybe fourth. March Madness, that'd be fun to win. They made it to the championship once. That was a good time. Lakers fifth. I like the Lakers. I'm spoiled. As a Lakers fan, I'm spoiled. They've won so many times in my life that my friends up here hate it, but it's they've won a lot. That's fine. Let some other teams in my life win, like the Dodgers and the Ducks. Can I do a side tangent here real quick? Joe Davis, love Joe Davis. Big fan of Joe Davis. If I hear him say first full season World Series since 1988 one more time, I think he said it 12 times tonight. Buddy, enough. Why are you perpetuating this nonsense that 2020 didn't count? Get out of here with that. They won the World Series in 2020. They had no advantage over any other team. If anything, they had a disadvantage because they got no home field advantage despite being the best team in baseball. Enough of it. Enough with it. Stop giving Astro fans and Yankees fans and Padres fans all this crap to say about, first full season. It counts. Everybody played the same number of games in the same conditions, and the Dodgers won. So, enough. Okay, I love Joe Davis. There you go. 2020 World Series champs. Shout out. Okay, let's get to a couple super chats here. Big Bob Johnson. Fat Joe put Yankee fans in the grave before the game. Freddie buried them in the first. MVP. Umpires have been horrible for both teams. We joked. The Fat Joe thing was so bad. So bad. I hope he comes. Can we get him back for game 4? What do we need to do? Who do we need to call? I joked that somebody in New York saw Ice Cube kill it in game 2, and they put their heads together and said, all right, we got 48 hours. Who's available? They called 12 people. The first 11 said no. Fat Joe picked up that phone and said, dang right, I'm available in 2 nights. Let's go. 48 hours. I mean, I'm not in touch with the pulse of New York City. I don't have people that live there. Do people like Fat Joe still? I mean, I know he's from there and the local legend thing. I get all of that, but what? Blake was joking. He's never heard of him. That might be true. Lean Back was a long time ago, but man, it's tough. And I agree. Umpires have been bad. The Torres strike was awful. I loved it, but it was awful. And yet Will Smith's ball 4 cost them a run. That was a one guaranteed run. The Torres, you have to extrapolate things out. The Dodgers with Will Smith, it cost them a run, and the next batter comes up, who in this case was Gavin Lux, and probably had a better chance of getting a hit than Will Smith did. So there you go. But yes, umpires have been bad, but for both teams, I do agree. Charlie says, don't want to jinx anything, but when do we know a tentative day of the week for a parade after the end of the World Series? It's a great question that I do not know the answer to. After the World Series would be the answer. Here's the guy. Look at this guy, Matthew Moreno, grinding it out. I was just telling the people, this guy getting all the content up. I imagine the answer to this question, Matt, is I don't know. But do we have any sense of how parades are planned? And does that information just get, it's kind of random, right? It's, I don't know, we'll pick a date after the World Series is over, right?
I mean, no, yes and no. My guess is there are early discussions that happen of, hey, if we do, they have to, right? It's like selling playoff tickets. Everybody got mad when World Series tickets went on sale during the NLCS, and it's every team does this. It's not just the Dodgers. So my guess is there are early discussions with city officials saying, we're obviously in the playoffs. If we get to this point, what would it look like? Because the MLB schedule is out, so the potential date. So I assume they start doing contingency plans. but I don't know. I mean, those conversations might accelerate now more so of, hey, if we finish this tomorrow, what does it look like? If we go to a game 5, what does it look like? If like that, it might get a little bit more serious now. But other than that, like not a whole lot.
One fast wants to know, can you imagine if Ja Rule performed? Lucas and Sadie says Frankie Valli performing tomorrow. Frankie Valli, by the way, is the former frontman of the Four Seasons. He's 90 years old. I think I would take all of these people ahead of Fat Joe if I were a Yankees fan. As a Dodgers fan, I'm a big Fat Joe guy.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Surprisingly, I thought it would be okay. Like he's from New York. I think what MLB was trying to replicate was when Jay-Z and Alicia Keys performed. I think it might have been the last time the Yankees were in the World Series was 2009. So not 100% sure on the year, but I know that they did perform at some point. So I think they were trying to sort of replicate that with these two things. And I think, it sort of landed in LA much better than it did in New York, which was a little surprising because Fat Joe is from there, but he's also not necessarily the biggest like New York artist they could have gotten, in my opinion. He's
not the biggest New York artist. Oh, most famous. Got it. Okay. Sorry. Yes. 2009, by the way, you were right on that one. You were less enthusiastic about the Ice Cube performance than some. So I imagine that the Fat Joe performance is like, at least that one was in some categories good. This one was all of the same complaints that anybody had about Ice Cube while also being Fat Joe and being bad.
The difference tonight was I knew to expect it. I had forgotten that Ice Cube was supposed to perform. And again, my biggest issue was start that earlier so that the game can don't start his concert at 5:08 when we're being told that that's when the game is starting. That was my biggest thing.
Yeah. Fair. Carolina, why didn't we get the call for Trevino blocking home plate? I have no idea what the hell the rules are with blocking. Even on the broadcast, they're like, well, you can't drop the knee. Well, unless the ball takes you there. And if you have the ball, you can block. I'm like, so I don't know what how do those three circles meet? Where do they meet?
My understanding of the rule is that if you have the ball that you can block, basically.
Correct.
If the throw does take, if you weren't and then you needed to reach over and all of a sudden you're blocking the plate because you're catching the throw.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he may have been a hair early tonight. I mean, that's besides the point. Lux looked safe, right?
Safe. I said earlier, it's the craziest thing where everybody in the world knows for a fact that he was safe, and we have no video to prove it. There's no definitive angle where you can see fingers touching home plate. You just are like, well, we know his fingers are in that dirt pile somewhere. He's got to be touching home plate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, they would have still had to assume, and so they weren't going to do that, I guess.
Yeah. Robert said, name me one team in 2020 who didn't want to win it all. I went on a rant right before you came on. I'm sick of Joe Davis saying this would be the team's first full season title since 1988. Of all people not to perpetuate this nonsense, Matt, Joe Davis needs to have our back and stop acting like 2020 didn't count. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. I wonder if maybe he's trying to be not perceived as too much of a homer, and so it's sort of inadvertently overcompensating. And I mean, I agree with Robert. Look, our whole, especially the biggest thing, give me a minute now here. Thank you, everybody. Jeff, you did a great job. You and Marcas started the show off, and then you in the chat, holding it down.
The chat's the real MVP tonight. Other than Walker Buehler, Freddie Freeman, the chat gets third place in my book.
There we go. Padres and their fans had a full-blown parade throughout Gaslamp when the Padres won their wild card series in 2020. Celebrating like that was the World Series. Not like they got to the World Series, not like they won the pennant. They were celebrating like that was their World Series. Full-blown parade, basically. It may have been organized by the city of San Diego. May as well have been. Then they get swept by the Dodgers in the NLDS. And all of a sudden, it becomes, it was a fake season anyway. And yes, to Robert's point, there's not one team that year who would have said, actually, no, we didn't want to win this World Series. This one doesn't count. That's fine. So, yes, that whole thing is a tired narrative. I'm looking forward. Not that I ever, I don't let it bother me. I mean, I know it. I think
it irritates me because it's Joe Davis. If John Smoltz says it's fine, but it's like you're the Dodgers guy, and B, you have an opportunity. There's no reason to talk about it. Nobody cares win the last full season title of the Dodgers. Like literally nobody cares. And yet you keep saying it, A, for no reason, and B, it's annoying. So it's brutal for me.
I can tell you guys, if you read DodgerBlue.com, which I hope everybody in this chat certainly does, that we are referencing it as the Dodgers are on the verge of winning their second World Series since 2020, because that's what it is.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I got stuff up here to prove it. There's a picture of Clayton Kershaw holding a World Series trophy, and there's another picture of Clayton Kershaw holding a World Series trophy, and we got stuff. There's Corey Seager's holding a World Series trophy up there somewhere. Yeah. So we got lots of.
Ironically, last night was actually the anniversary of it. They won it on October 27th, so we had a little history post up on that.
I like it. Carolina, how high did Freddie hit the ball? All the way up. So there you go.
Fat Joe reference.
Nice. Look at you. Blake's over here saying he's never heard of Fat Joe, which believable and also not believable. It's like, how could you possibly not know who he is? And yet I made the joke about that it's his favorite guy, because if you've ever heard Blake talk about music, the people that he has not heard of is an extensive list. We're not talking about people he doesn't like, just people he's never heard of before. So Fat Joe, a guy who peaked in 2007, kind of makes some sense. For our guy Blake. All right, Matt, I do want to get your thoughts on Walker Buehler briefly. We talked about it. The three headlines for me are Walker Buehler, Dave Roberts, Freddie Freeman, in that order. Give me your thoughts, Buehler. We talked about the swing and miss on the fastball. He got like 50% swing and miss rate on swings on his fastball tonight. He looked like vintage Walker Buehler, not like a guy pretending to be Walker Buehler like we've seen even in his best moments. This looked like actual Walker Buehler.
Yeah, and he said it in his post-game interview, which we have up. I don't want anybody, don't leave us yet. Don't leave the live
show.
Over
4,000 people in here. So shout out to us just crossing the 4,000 mark.
Definitely. Once Jeff and I are done, then you guys can go check out all those post-game interviews. Ohtani is up. So if you have any questions about what he may have said, I can help you there in the meantime. To your point about Buehler, he said, his fastball tonight felt sort of like his old self, or at least, close to it. And yeah, I mean, I know I text you guys like sort of tongue in cheek, but also serious. Like anybody who thought Clark Schmidt was going to outpitch Walker Buehler tonight, like I don't know. I can't help you. Yeah. And we've seen
Aaron Boone, he said, he goes, Clark Schmidt was what? He's going to be the most confident guy in the stadium. And it's like, excuse me, sir. Have you seen the other guy before?
Yeah. I mean, I'm more than anything, honestly, like, I know we strive to be as objective, and certainly me, and I've taken some good-natured ribbing for that. We try to be as objective as we can, but it's hard to not be happy for Walker Buehler, the person, the player, and what he's had to endure. And not just coming back from the 2 Tommy John surgeries, but like he didn't look like, Jeff, you and I were on the optimistic side with Buehler throughout the year, saying, hey, he needs time. But then I think there was a point where you and I both finally came to like, hey, I don't know, like maybe he makes one more start, and then I'm not sure if they can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Now, he got it back on track enough, and then I think you and I were in the same camp of, hey, we've seen him in the playoffs. Like you're going to ride or die with him at this point because he can do it. And I think that's what we saw tonight. I mean, his biggest start of the year, he turned in his best performance. And Dave Roberts said when he was asked about him that, it was probably his best stuff throughout the season, and that the Dodgers, if they didn't play a sloppy inning behind him in the NLDS, that the overall picture of his playoff perception, narrative, whatever you want to call it, is probably a lot different.
Yeah, it's true. An unbelievable performance from him. Turning back the clock, and we've got another special guest joining us for the fourth. There's 4 of us tonight. Scott Geirman, just in time to talk Walker Buehler. Everything that you have been saying about Walker Buehler has been 100% right. And yet somehow tonight, the guy took the pitch that everybody said, hey, enough with it, Walker, enough with it. And he just blew it right past Yankees guys. If you've seen, go look at the heat map for Aaron Judge's first AB. Walker Buehler threw him a 96-mile-an-hour fastball that could not be more in the nitro zone, and Judge just swung right through it. And again, this is not a critique, Scott, because you have been dead on about this, which is what makes it so surprising to see Buehler go out and did he surprise people? Was it effective because it was so surprising, or did he just find something? Velocity was down, actually. Spin rate was barely up.
Don't answer that. One thing really quick. Blake just texted us Someone stole his World Series cup while he was getting interviews in the clubhouse. So I think we might need to start a GoFundMe to send him
Oh,
some
brother.
money to get a replacement.
That's
Anyway,
amazing.
sorry. Go ahead,
Amazing.
Scott. Sorry about that.
Yeah, back from the breaking news.
Yes. Where were we? Where were we?
Walker Buehler, like, was his fastball, in your estimation, was it effective simply because they weren't expecting it? Or was there something about it that, like, was it a better pitch or just a surprising pitch?
So the mind game that the Dodgers have been doing. So we all knew going into it. The conversations, Jeff, you and I had last night on the Sunday show about how the bullpen was going to attack the top of the order, and Walker Buehler, who at times gets fastball heavy. And if you go back to Walker Buehler's start against the Mets, I think he had 18 whiffs. We talked about it a ton, about how he was so dominant from that end. The sweeper was working. That was his, his running mate in that game. It kept it live. It kept him right on there, getting a lot of whiff, and it kept the Mets off balance. But tonight, yes, he was peppering the zone. But with Aaron Judge, I mean, that's an instance where he's looking for everything diving away from him, so you can run fastballs by. But when I was looking up and I'm seeing Walker Buehler, it looked like a different type of fastball. I don't know if, they figured something out there with the weather, if they figured out how to cut it, if they figured out how to find some command. The metrics I've got to look into there as far as, break and all this stuff here. But his fastball was live tonight. Yeah, it was that fastball where we look back, and that's a complimentary pitch for him. I know it was a primary today, but that's something where you mix in that knuckle curve. This is Walker Buehler in this maturation of this entire year. When we look back, this is a Walker Buehler that can go out and he can shove. It was somebody you can have confidence in. So just all around incredible stuff from him. So that's what I saw today. Like, it was him attacking the zone with something, a primary pitch that he knows can't only be his thing, but he was pitching today.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize, this is not a critique, because it was the right call, was to be aware of what the fastball was and how ineffective it had been all season, which, again, I'm looking at velocity. I'm looking at, spin rate, all of that kind of a thing. And I don't see anything. Induced vertical break, I mean, slightly +1. Yearly average is 17. It was 18 tonight. The horizontal break was exactly the same as it has been. And yet he throws this pitch, Matt, 34 times. These are numbers. I'm getting out of the weeds here, Matt. 34 pitches. Okay. He gets 13 swings. Of the 13, 6 are whiffs and 4 are foul balls. And he also got 9 called strikes with his fastball. He got 15 called strikes or whiffs. If you want to add in foul balls, 19 times his fastball was thrown and it went for a strike tonight. Unbelievable stuff. I think somebody tweeted that the Yankees took more fastballs for strikes tonight than any other game the entire season. They just assumed they weren't going to throw him fastballs, and the Dodgers just kept throwing him fastballs. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think credit to the game planning and some of it. And look, Buehler obviously had a feel. Buehler obviously had a feel for the pitch. He mentioned it in his last start in New York at Citi Field that, he was asked about the movement and things like that, and a lot of stuff that Scott can explain better than I can. I'm in a good mood, so I won't call it nerd stats tonight.
It's okay.
And Buehler said, the colder weather and sometimes the actual stadium that you're in impacts that. He was asked heading into the start tonight at Yankee Stadium if he would be able to kind of lean on, obviously they're back in New York, and so it's going to be cold again. And he said he wasn't sure that, it's just more about throwing good pitches. I think maybe we're going to get our guy Scotty on it, and he's going to dig into all the good data. Not right now. He'll do a full deep dive and get it written up for everybody probably at some point.
I would just say that a lot of it just comes from him peppering the zone. Like, you're 67% in the zone with your 68% in the zone with your four-seam fastball. You're forcing the Yankees to go up there and attack, be ready to go, not work counts. That's the one thing in reducing traffic against an offense that is begging for you to have runners on base. So Walker Buehler did a hell of a job from that sense, so that he's not going to get behind. It wasn't always pretty. He was nibbling at times. The umpire was suspect for sure. But when you're 68% on your main offering and you're getting ahead from that sense, or you can count on that four seam to live in the zone, and you're getting, I have to pull up how many whiffs he got on this.
9 whiffs on the fastball. 6 whiffs on the fastball. Six
whiffs on the fastball. So it's that, from that stance, he feels confident that he's going to be getting that tunnel with that knuckle curve. He's going to be able to work that cutter. When it was times when, Jeff, we talk about at times, and Matt, same thing. When you're sitting at home and you're saying, I would love to see a cutter here. I would love to see a sweeper, a slider here. It just makes sense. That was me tonight with the cutter. that was when you go out. This would be a perfect time for him to get, go a little east west, and it's a symphony. That's where my issues with Will Smith are so reduced. I would love to see him have more success at the plate, but they're so in sync right now.
Yeah.
For Walker to Buehler to go out tonight and throw 5 shutty in the World Series to put him up 3-0, like, what more can be said? I mean, I don't need to dive into the numbers. No nerd stats on this one. He just providing as good of a start as we can require out of Walker Buehler, who, if we don't have, this has popped in my mind too. If the Dodgers aren't on this long season trend, they're going this deep, having this, fighting down the line here, Walker Buehler might not have this much of a runway on other teams. This is a beautiful, beautiful season for Walker Buehler.
No, it's a great point, right? Because we talk about all the guys who are hurt, and you have to wonder if some of those guys were healthy, would Walker Buehler even be getting the opportunities that he ended up getting?
Correct.
Glasnow would definitely be ahead of him, but I think you could make a case for a guy like Gavin Stone, even River Ryan, had he stayed healthy. Both of those guys might have been higher on the pecking order than Walker Buehler, and yet because they are not, the guys who have been asked to go get outs have been able to go out and get those outs. Lance Brozdowski, when he was on our show, talked about the Yankees versus four-seamers, and he basically said Flaherty and Buehler both worry me a little bit because they're so reliant on those pitches, and yet doesn't matter, Matt. Just eye test, baby. Just grinding it out. Who cares about the nerd stuff? Just throw them fastballs and they can't hit it.
No, look, there is something to, again, like, you guys are joking, but this is an instance where you throw the data out in some regard, and the human element comes into play. Like, the Yankees are either pressing, like, whatever you want to call it. This isn't the same Yankees lineup that we have seen.
No.
Are they being caught off guard by the Dodgers in some regard? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Is it also, the pressure and the weight of the World Series is getting to them? I would argue even the level of competition. I know, no disrespect, as Daniel would say, to the American League Central. Like, is that a factor too?
Yeah.
Like, potentially, right? And that's where, when that stuff, that's why, like, I give you guys a hard time of, hey, like, games aren't playing on computers and this and that, because this is where I think we see some of the human element come into play.
Yeah, but the nerd stats gave us Ryan Brazier against the middle of the order, Matt, and he did his job tonight,
I mean, yeah, that worked out. That's
a win for the nerds, baby. A win for the nerds. Scotty and I talked about it last night. Don't mess around with 4-seam fastballs against those guys in the middle of the order, and Brazier comes in and, does his job. You're going to like a couple of these super chats here. Godfrey says the 2020 World Series is legit, unlike the cheating Astros one. Again, if we're going to talk about the Dodgers 2020, then let's say the last time the Astros won a World Series without being widely accepted to be cheaters was ... I'll expect that. But this is the favorite question for both of you. Scott Newhouse wants to know, Jeff, if you could make one guy healthy to get the final out of the World Series, would it be Michael Grove or Clayton Kershaw? Come on. The answer is my guy, Kershaw, obviously. But that'd be a cool story for my guy, Michael Grove, too. Huh, Scotty?
Just comes in, who is that out? Text Blake, who's warming up the pen? He just says Michael Grove, and I just fall to my knees. I would just fall to my knees. That's
just pumps 3 fastballs by Juan Soto. Doesn't even see it coming. Just holding up the World Series trophy, be an all-timer.
None of my Tommy Edman, Teoscar Hernandez narratives, all of those W's for me would be gone.
Yeah, the real answer here, Matt, is Will Smith. Can Will Smith throw the final out? Can we somehow to get my guy Will Smith to to throw strike 3?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Then your guy Austin Barnes maybe catching strike 3 too, so it's a win for both of us, Matt.
That's what I was going to say. You put Austin Barnes in the lineup tomorrow. If the Dodgers blow them out and they need a position player to get the final 3 outs in the 9th, then maybe ask Will Smith to go do it, catcher to catcher.
The memory on Will Smith having a couple big hits in the last 4 Dodgers games. I know he's looked awful in big spots. Like, he has not been awesome, but can we appreciate that he's not the worst catcher in this series? The Yankees have 2 guys who are worse than him playing the catcher position. So we've got that going for us. And he did hit a 2-run home run in game 6 of the NLCS. That was a massive home run. Like, just give I'm not asking for all the respect on his name, just a tiny bit. Che says Buehler is the Dodgers mad bum in 2 World Series. I don't like Mad Bum. What he did in the playoffs was insane and stupid. But Walker Buehler, it's like 18 innings with 1 earned run in the World Series career or something like that. Only guy other than Sandy Koufax to have 2 shutout performances. He threw slightly less innings, I think, than Sandy Koufax did in those 2 shutout performances, but he does have that.
Can we have the conversation now? Is this okay? I think we're okay to do it. I was waiting till we did it a little bit last night, Jeff, when we talked about Walker Buehler returning to the Dodgers, when somebody asked us, who's going to be back there or with the Dodgers next year. And my worry, Yeah. My worry again, and I'll reiterate it, is that Walker Buehler, if he leaves, will go to another team that knows how to develop and get the best out of pitchers. I cannot have Walker Buehler leaving the Dodgers. I just cannot do it. It's like Kike Hernandez. Let's not make this mistake. It's right in front of you. Somehow he's going to find some success. And would we have thought this mid-year when he was in the dumps, like watching those post-game pressers? Just cool. Like, this is a fan coming out of me, like watching those low-point press conferences where he was just laying it all out there. And now we're at the point where Walker Buehler has a 0.5 ERA in 18 World Series innings. And I just love
Matt. I'm going to let you talk here. I just love Scott's like, it's like Kike Hernandez. We can't let him go. It's like Clayton Kershaw is sitting right there. The Dodger legend who we can't let go play for another team.
He's coming back. We know he's coming back.
He's coming back.
I know.
He's coming back.
In 3 years, we need Kershaw back still.
I mean, I think also, Matt? Scott, I have good news for you. Buehler will be back.
Wow.
Okay. He's got to be back, man. Like,
he'll be back.
It's been a very
Scott,
cool
if you could have Buehler or Jack Flaherty for next year, who would you take?
Do I have to pick one?
I'm just asking if Andrew Friedman says, Scott, look, we've got the budget. We got the budget for one of these guys. We know Matt wants to give Buehler or Flaherty all that glass now money.
Yes.
So
I pick one. Oh gosh. Chat save me from this one because they can just say both. I'm just gonna say both. You could do both. You could do both so easily.
Matt, would you give Walker Buehler as much money as Jack Flaherty?
No.
That's all I'm asking that.
I had to make sure I processed.
Okay, so you're still wanting Buehler on a discount.
Yeah, I think I think his price to ironically quote, I think it was Fat Joe. Yesterday's price is not today's price when he went viral. If I forgot what it was in reference to.
It's great.
So that applies to Walker Buehler. I think his price has certainly gone up, but I think he'd be happy to like do somewhat of a discount to stay here. Like he continues to say like he loves the Dodgers. He loves, competing every year, being with this team. Now, if they say, hey, we want to sign you 1 year, $8 million, like he's going to tell them you guys can kick rocks type thing. But I think there's some common ground that they could still find. And my answer is between, I know you didn't ask me, but between Flaherty and Buehler, you get Buehler because then you just go use the other money on Roki. Yeah, you use it on Roki and then you're good.
Roki costs nothing. Yeah. But look, it's interesting because even the relationship between the Dodgers and Walker Buehler a few months ago, I wondered where that relationship was at. Obviously, winning a World Series, contributing in the way that Buehler has will mend all that over. But I mean, Matt, you correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed like there were some weird vibes just because when a guy is struggling the way that he is, and then he's away from the team and he's in Florida, and like I didn't think any of that was necessarily weird, but it felt like what the Dodgers were asking him to do and what he wanted to do didn't always feel like they were seeing eye to eye in the midst of his struggles.
I think that's fair. And the optics of that whole thing wasn't great. I think some of that, and maybe Buehler will get to a point where my interpretation of it, and maybe he admits this, maybe he doesn't, is perhaps he went through I think it's fair to say that he was going through a phase of wanting to be the old pitcher that he was. I know Scott was on this from the very beginning of, hey, like his pitch profile, how effective it, like he needs to change this and that. And we would see it in a start. And then I think he would have the success and say, okay, like I'm back to kind of the pitcher that I was. Let me go through all these fastballs again. And I wonder if maybe he needed a little bit of not maturation, but just look at that's hard, right? For an athlete, if all of us, especially for him, like it's not like he just got old and it's like, oh man, I can't throw as hard as I used to 10 years ago. Like it was sort of, snap of a finger, blink of an eye, 1 year to the next, he's having a significant elbow surgery again. And now a lot of stuff is taken away from him. So I think he sort of needed, I think the Dodgers had an idea of the type of pitcher he needed to be. I think he has a reputation for being very confident and headstrong and convicted in his beliefs, which are all admirable traits. But he also needed to realize, I think, on his own time of, hey, I'm not that guy anymore. And he has opened up to that a little bit. He said it, in after his NLCS start, they asked him about striking out Francisco Lindor. And they said, the old you, would you have thrown a fastball? He said, oh yeah, 100%. Like,
one of my favorite quotes, one of my absolute favorite quotes. And like, the relief from there, the trust in the catcher. Like at that point, yes, I was like, I thought of Jeff immediately. It was just like, what would have happened? He would have thrown a fastball, uncorks the knuckle curve, gets a whiff, and it was like, wow,
different guy. different guy. And keep in mind, and I also want to mention this because Vasse came on this show and he said the turning point of the NLDS, Matt, was not a hit or anything. It was when Walker Buehler came into the dugout and got all pissed off at what happened in Game 3. He said that was actually the moment where things turned the other direction. So stuff like that. And by the way, if Walker Buehler can have glass now money for this. Walker Buehler shut up reporters on Spectrum Sportsnet LA about the quote weird 2020 series. According to the reporter, he said, "What do you mean weird? Love it."
Yeah,
give him the glass now money, Matt.
Yeah, that is. I was going to trim that once we were done here. I was going to send the clip to you guys.
Was that tonight?
I think it was tonight. I think Buehler just wanted to make sure, and the reporter I don't think meant it. It's the stuff we were talking about.
It could have meant in the bubble, like lots of things.
And that's when he said, "What do you mean weird?" He said, "Oh, well, like limited fans and playing a tech stuff like that." And so then he said, Buehler said, "Oh, okay," and then answered the question. But I think if the reporter was going to go down the path of saying, "Well, it was a 60-game season," that he was probably going to get his head chewed off.
Yeah, let's get Friedman out there. Ask Friedman about the weird 2020 right after you ask him about Roki Sasaki and see what happens. Big Bob Johnson says, "Butane, baby. One more win." This was vintage Butane. Laura says, starting a fund for replacement cup for Blake. I don't know. Now we've brought this up. I feel like now he's getting this positive attention. I think he's got to keep better eyes on his stuff, Scott. I think that's the real lesson here. You know,
how much was this cup? Like, what are we talking about here? Was there some sentimental value to the Dr. Pepper that was in that cup? Like,
or was it the one was it the one he said the food picture that he sent us? Didn't the food he sent us a picture of come in some sort of cup? Am I wrong on that?
It did look like a cup bowl thing on top of it.
Okay, and for the record, good Lord, if this is the cup he's talking about, it's a Yankees cup.
Oh, give me a break.
He can live without that. That's the cup. It's our guy.
He can live without that.
I texted him. He's got to get the Yankees Dodgers hat.
Half and half. The Rob Lowe half and half.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. My desk is scattered. After another strong outing, is it time to consider the Dodgers might bring Buehler back? Is this a sign of how he might perform in 25? Scott, I mean, the second part here is the question that we haven't really tapped into. There's, I think, an argument that Matt has made, which I think holds a lot of water, which is the reason Buehler is performing so well now is because he's getting further and further removed from not pitching for so long, and he's getting reps under his belt. And to the point that you've made, he's rediscovering himself and then getting reps with the new version of himself. And so, like, what would your expectations be for a guy like Buehler in 2025? Because part of me also wonders, like, what kind of health bet are you making? Are you expecting Walker Buehler to give you 28 starts next season, or are you kind of penciling him in the way that so many of these other pitchers are penciled in, which is like, well, if he's healthy in the postseason, you feel great, but like Flaherty at least feels like a 28 to 32 starts a year guy. So what would your expectations be for Walker Buehler in 2025?
I mean, let's be honest here with ourselves. Like, Walker Buehler came back and he's been airing it out. Like, I haven't felt concerned about pitch count in any of these starts. Like, I just haven't. If he's cruising and like they're going to have to save him from himself if that's the case. If Walker Buehler wanted to go back out there, he would do it. There's been nothing where like his stuff has looked suspect from a fatigue standpoint. So with Walker Buehler, I mean, you always have to be mindful of his innings just coming off of injury. Absolutely. The Tommy Johns. But is it fair to say like this is a quality number 3? Like, we're at the point where it's a quality number 3. He's not going to cost a ton. He's 30 years old. Like, you can expect, I would say, what we're seeing. It's not perfectly dominant, but the pitching staff and all of these guys, learning about this version of Walker Buehler, pulling this data from what he's doing, they're going to be able to bottle this up in the offseason and formulate a plan for him going forward. And I think he's into that. He's into that type of stuff. He wants to be in an environment, to what Matt said, like, thank you for putting that out there. Like, Walker Buehler being, if he's back, let's lock that into ourselves. If that's where he's going to be, having this data now with this pitching staff and all these guys, like, he's going to love that going into next year. I don't think there's going to be a big thought for him. I think he likes having this success. So if you uproot going to another team, you're not going to have this. You're not going to have to start from scratch, but you're going to have to start from somewhere. But I think that it's reasonable to say we've got a quality number 3. And with the Dodgers, how many arms they've got, like, you're going to get him from a bargain price and you're going to get a lot with compete. Yeah, I had to slip that in there, Matt.
Well, and the other 3 teams that you mentioned last night, I believe, was Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Tampa Bay. Like, with all due respect to the folks in Milwaukee, Cleveland, and Tampa Bay, what Walker Buehler cares most about is pitching on nights like tonight. And those three teams in particular, not exactly Cleveland, nice team this year. Tampa Bay's had some nice runs. Milwaukee's surprised, but
Milwaukee, I heard Christian Yelich was at a wine bar last night while the Dodgers are winning World Series games. So we know what they're up to.
Shout out to Westlake Village, Christian
Well,
Yelich.
and
Matt, go ahead.
There was, I'm pretty sure, one of the years that not this last time that Justin Turner was a free agent, but before that, we ended up re-signing with the Dodgers, and there were rumblings that the Brewers were making a big push. Once it then came out that Turner was re-signing, Buehler tweeted like Milwaukee LOL or like something alluding to like we were really worried. He ended up deleting it, but it was funny while it lasted for a little bit.
Okay, Matt, I wasn't going to come to you on Buehler because I wanted to set you up for this one. Kevin wants to know Kershaw gets heat in October, but Aaron Judge. You have any Aaron Judge thoughts, Matt? You want to get anything off your chest on 22 strikeouts or whatever he's at?
Yeah, I mean it's bad, and he's hearing it from the fan. You
started getting booed, right?
His last at bat tonight, it got to 2 strikes, and they started booing him. And I mean, he is hearing it. I think if it doesn't seem like as intense or as much as Kershaw got, I think that it sort of speaks to the level of expectation and pressure that were on Kershaw. And not that Judge doesn't have any of that, but I think Kershaw was held at such a high regard, much higher than I think maybe Judge is being held at right now. And that's why it seemed more so like with Kershaw. But look, like one thing I didn't get a chance to discuss with you guys just because I've been in and out of different shows was like heading into this World Series who had more pressure, the Dodgers or the Yankees? Like, yeah. The Dodgers, we focus on them. So that's what we see a lot of the fan feedback and frustration, and we get it.
Yeah.
Yankees hadn't been to the World Series since 2009.
Yeah.
And Soto's a free agent at the end of the year. I mean, there's pieces of it too, where it's like you could project out, somebody tweeted last night, like you could project out the Dodgers. Okay. Yes. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman are guys that like are closer to leaving their primes than they are to being right in the middle of their primes. But like a year from now, I mean, Garrett Cole's in that boat. Juan Soto might not be there. Stanton is putting together a nice postseason run, but hasn't really been the same guy in the regular season. So I think the point you're making, there's some validity to it. A, because of how long it's been. B, because of how disappointing this team has been over the last few years. And C, just how many of these guys do you expect to be peak performers next year even? And outside of Aaron Judge, it's like, who knows? I mean, I think Soto likely will be back. We'll go to this. Carolina asks, is there any truth to the Soto rumors? He's being pursued by the Dodgers. I'm good. Quote, not like us. I like the reference, Carolina. I appreciate it. I would be perfectly happy if Juan Soto was a Dodger next year. He's very good.
I'm torn on this, right? Because I'm the same person who has sat here and said, give me as many talented players as possible on the team. Like, I do believe that pieces need to fit somebody like Scott's Tommy Edman filling a role, but like you need those guys, but also like the more stars you have, if Freddie Freeman sprains an ankle, if Will Smith goes through a slump, well, hey, here's 3 other guys that can carry us because we have that deep of a team. What I've seen from Juan Soto defensively, I don't know if that is somebody that you can pay $600 million to. I don't know. I'm not saying no. If he were to come to the Dodgers and say do this and they sign him, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Yeah. Complete mistake. But that's a lot of money for a guy that doesn't. And I'm sure maybe Scott will say it. I'm sure if Blake was on here, maybe Jeff, you feel this way, is what Soto does for you offensively more than makes up for that. I think that's reasonable, but look at the World Series. Like, he's not necessarily doing that. And you could argue some of his defensive plays have led to, 1.5 runs for the Dodgers.
The only thing I'll say on Soto, and the point that I try and make, is there are tiers of dudes in Major League Baseball. Juan Soto is a super, super duper star offensively. Like, I think he is literally the greatest offensive player in Major League Baseball right now. You can make a case for Judge, who put up a better offensive number this season. You can make a case for Ohtani. I'll hear it all. If I had to bet on one single player being the greatest offensive player in baseball for the next 5 years, I would happily place my bet on Juan Soto. I know the defense is an issue. I'm with you. Is it dramatically worse than Teoscar Hernandez? Maybe slightly.
Teoscar Hernandez is not getting $600 million though. It's a lot different.
That's true. But he's going to be out there playing a lot of defense. I'll just take my chances. He is. There are guys like they talk about like when Garrett Cole comes up and it's like Garrett Cole's a superstar. Yes. But the Dodgers can live with like missing out on a Garrett Cole type. Juan Soto is the only guy that will ever hit free agency that is in the Shohei Ohtani tier. He's the only guy. There will not be another in the next 5 to 10 years, super duper duper star that hits free agency like Juan Soto's about to. So I think Scott and I are on the same page. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's, the difference I would say is his money will not be pushed down the road. He's getting upfront value. That is, he is not going to get a team friendly contract. But with what Ohtani did, that opens the door for stuff like that. To what Jeff said about being a generational player, Juan Soto has been doing this since 2019. Like Juan Soto has been doing, on the biggest stages. Like he is 26 now. He's been in the league for 5 years, playing at an unworldly level, playing in World Series, playoffs. He is remarkable. As far as the Dodgers, to what the rumor is, of course they're going to, check in. How much is there to it? We don't know. I think it was poor for John Heyman to put that out there at this time.
Yeah, there are no rumors. I want to clarify. Read the Heyman article. Yeah. There are no rumors other than people like me, Matt, and Scott talking to somebody and saying, "Hey, the Dodgers usually go after everybody." I mean, that's literally the sourcing on Heyman's article.
Yeah. And then, what he is, I'm not going to say, yes, the Dodgers have to go after him, but you have to check in. As far as like, you got to go full in there. That's not what I'm saying either. You have to check in. If there's traction, you pursue it. How much, we don't know. It's all about how they can project. I know there's money coming off the books once Freddie Freeman's contract is up. Like there is a window here where you can absorb that. And it's just a matter of having that, cheap talent in there in terms of like, prospects coming up, arbitration stuff. I'll leave that to the big guys at the front office there. But if you're purely asking me about, does Juan Soto deserve all the money? Yes, he does. Look how much revenue Ohtani's bringing in. I know it's a different stage, completely different thing, but look what these superstars are doing for the game, for these big franchises. It's all right in front of us. If it's there, go for it. If not, I couldn't care less. I'm not going to be like, oh no, you've got other avenues you can pursue, but it's another once in a generation type of thing.
Yeah, and by the way, Soto's actually been in the league for 7 years as a 19-year-old. As a 19-year-old, he played 116 games, hit 22 home runs, and had a weighted runs created plus of 146 as a 19-year-old in 2018 for the Nationals. So he's got that going for him, and has hit in the postseason. By the way, career 149 weighted runs created plus guy in the postseason. I know this season against the Dodgers, he's been non-existent. He has been great in the ALDS and the ALCS. So Matt, anyways, don't need to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I was interrupting you guys. I think last thing on this, and Carolina, we appreciate the super chat, but I don't want us to spend a whole bunch of time on Soto. I agree with you, Scott. Like definitely, call Scott Boras, say, hey, what's he looking for? Well, this is what we could do, and then go from there. The only question I have for both of you, just because I'm curious, is there like a number that maybe you don't feel like it's quote unquote worth it, or if it gets to that amount, you would want the Dodgers to just pivot elsewhere, or you just kind of play it by ear and
ain't my money, baby. Ain't my money.
The salary, the CBT keeps going up, right? So those contracts keep looking at. There's ever a player to give a long-term deal to that you can project, that's the type of guy as well. Like these are the type of players that you can say, 15 years, sure. It's going at some point of that contract, it might not be worth it. Deal with that and honestly say 10 years. That's crazy to think about. That in 10 years, we'll talk about if the contract's worth it. And by then, how big are these payrolls going to be? All these conversations will be different way down there. But as far as like present day ball, like present day stuff where it's at, like the number is always going to be the shock value. You can look at like what Bryce Harper was going to get. They were talking, imagine how crazy it was saying you're going to pay Bryce Harper $50 million. And wasn't that the thing, the AAV they were pushing for like,
they offered him like 1 year, right?
Something. I think it was 1 year or a 3-year contract.
It was around 45. It was around like 45 to 50 a year or something.
And then that was crazy to think about. But now if you say, if I came to you and said, we can get Juan Soto on a 3-year deal, 45, 50 million AAV, you're taking that every day of the week.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about here. But now it's just securing those, the rights to have him on your team.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation. That's for the higher ups. I can just tell you how good he is.
Yeah. Again, to all of what you're saying, Matt, about salaries and CBT and all that is totally fair to ask. Ohtani and Soto are like the two guys that are exceptions to the rule in my estimation. And especially if you can go get a guy like Roki Sasaki, who's going to cost you nothing for the next 6 or 7 years, is just another reason to just push all your chips in the table and say, we're basically paying $50 million for both of these guys because Sasaki doesn't cost anything. Lucas and Sadie Show reports that Judge is suffering from a rib injury in the ALCS. It's a poor guy, Shed a tear for Aaron Judge. So his ribs a little
He's
sore.
going through the stuff that Mookie Betts has, unworldly regular seasons, and it's just not happening. But this for Aaron Judge is just I like Aaron Judge as a player, as a person. He's good for the game. He's a terrific talent.
Yeah.
But it's just a rough watch, and it's getting exposed on the absolute biggest stage by a team that is the best at exposing hitters.
Yeah. The only thing I disagree, I wouldn't consider it a rough watch, Scott. I'm quite enjoying
I know.
I'm quite enjoying it. A very pleasant watch, to be honest.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm just, what is it? The Jordan one?
Yeah,
whatever.
By the way, I found the Walker Buehler tweet. Were we scared? ? The Brewers ?
Yeah.
And then about 12 ha 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 all the way extended. So shout out to our guy Walker Buehler. David says, can't believe this is happening. Jeff, Matt, and Scott. One more game, boys. One more game, Scott. 3-0. The Dodgers are up.
Man, only one team. It's, history's on our side. Chat we talked about last night, 84%.
Well, and tonight, up 3-0, it's 100%. No series up 3-0 has ever gone 6.
So it's just in the World Series, yes, one all time, but this team doesn't have that type of stuff. I don't see that fight in this Yankees team to turn it around and run the table. So we're talking
disrespect to Alex Verdugo, putting the team on his back in the bottom.
What
of the
a ridiculous pimp job, man!
No,
what an absolute ridiculous
it's amazing.
Pimp. Oh my God. I was watching it. Like, I don't get triggered at bat flips. Like, you're hitting a big league home run in the World Series, but I was like, read the room, man. What are you doing? Nobody wants you to do this.
Couldn't disagree more, Scott. Here for it. All of it. I wanted more. I'm sad he didn't pimp it more. It's the walk. It's the stare. To be fair, that was a 325-foot pop fly that just made it to the third row at Yankee Stadium. But, I was here for it. Matt, did you like Doogie pimping that thing?
I honestly, do you guys want my honest thoughts on that home run?
Yeah.
Okay. I was most upset that I had to edit the recap because I had stats in there about the shutout and World Series. I was annoyed with that. I didn't even see him really
Joe Davis did everything. I mean, again, I like Joe Davis. The guy's 17 comments about a shutout in the 9th inning. It's like, buddy, just either let it happen or don't happen. We don't need all these stats on the front end. It's like, just let the thing happen. Kopech's throwing 101 miles an hour right down the middle. I introduced my wife. I'm not going to say it out loud. You guys will get a kick out of this. I introduced my wife, I'll just say, to another way of saying right down the middle tonight, and she could not stop laughing when I told her another way to put a fastball straight down the middle. So that was good times in the Spiegel household tonight. She's like, I've never heard that. I'm like, Kate, you don't hang out in the same places that I hang out. I'm glad you've never heard that. I can assure you that anybody who watches baseball and hangs out with a bunch of dudes has heard the phrase that I'm referring to. So
get ready to learn ball, honey.
Yeah, exactly. All sorts. All right. I think that'll do it. One thing I wanted to say, I appreciate this. Somebody got it, by the way. Matt, this is I'm going to make a slight food tangent. I don't know if you heard this, Matt, but Portland was rated as the best pizza town in the United States. What do you thought? Any thoughts on that? How about that? Huh?
Surprising. Hopefully, I imagine Chicago's not even on the list because there's just no shot.
What's your okay, can we do so if we've got New York style pizza, Chicago style pizza, and then Detroit style pizza, which to be fair is not all that different from Chicago style pizza. It's just a square instead of a circle. Is it like New York number 1, I assume, for you? Is there a fourth kind?
Just regular? I don't know.
Regular pizza, like Domino's. Okay, so Domino's, New York, Chicago, and Detroit. Let's rank those.
New York's probably first. I will say the last 2 times I had Domino's a week ago now, maybe.
Okay.
It wasn't that great, and I remember thinking that the last time I had it a few months ago.
I
might be off the Domino's train now. I'm not 100% sure.
What are we, Pizza Hut guy? Like, what do we go back to?
I'm going to evaluate my options. I'm going to let these places kind of pitch me their products, and then I'll have to come back after I've sampled everything and then make a final decision. But Domino's, unfortunately, is slipped off my rankings for.
Okay, so if we go back to New York style, regular, Chicago, and Detroit, give me a ranking here.
New York, regular, Detroit, and I'm not even eating Chicago like deep dish. Like, it's awful.
So
just
tragic. I know.
I like tomato soup with croutons, so go get that instead of deep dish pizza. Like,
crazy talk. It's crazy talk. Chicago pizza is so good. I'm in on Detroit pizza. That might be my favorite. A little crisp around the edges, some melted cheese. I'm in on Detroit style pizza. But again, Portland, Oregon rated best pizza in the United States. So shout out to Portland for doing that. David, I saw you sent us a picture of pizza. That's what reminded me. A good pepperoni pie right there. So we appreciate that. Have we gotten any update? Is our guy Blake doing a sampling of street corner pizza or something like that? We got to get some video.
Not yet. It seems like he was just eating Nathan's at the stadium tonight.
Game doesn't start till 8 p.m. tomorrow. He's got all day tomorrow. I want some street corner hot dogs and New York style pizza, and we need some video proof of it.
Yeah, we'll tell Blake we need him out there sampling all the street meat.
Yeah, exactly. And taking videos of it, please. And if he does that, then maybe we'll get a little group poll together and we'll buy him another $19 Yankees souvenir cup if we get if we like the content. So, all right. Scott, Dodger sweep tomorrow night?
I said if they went up 3-0, they would sweep. I like I said, I don't see this Yankees team. They're pressing beyond. They feel it. Like it's one thing when you know your back's up against the wall and you got to grind it out.
Volpe looks terrified. He wants no part of being up at the plate. He just looks scared.
It's just a matter of you look at every single time they've had opportunities to tack on runs. It just hasn't happened. Aside from late game stuff, it just hasn't happened. Like everybody talked about I love the conversation that I forgot who I had with, but it was like, yes, they might have had it was my buddy Brandon. You might have had like talking about the starting pitching at the 1 aspect, Garrett Cole. And then you look at the Dodgers, sure, they might have the 1 up, but from 2 through 4, I'm taking what the Dodgers got. And then you look at the offense, it goes back to like being battle tested. Yankees haven't been pressed aside from just facing some good pitchers. And even then, I felt like they never just bully balled people out aside from home runs. Like this Dodgers team is suffocating. And the Yankees have had no life at all. They're just getting outplayed, outmanaged, out situational baseball. Like it's been a flood. It's been a flood. So I said if they went up 3-0, it'd be a sweep. So I'm gonna say they sweep tomorrow. I don't care.
And for the record, Moreno has been on Dodger sweep since like game 1. So you can claim that corner, Matt, if you'd like to here.
Your thing, bro.
I know you want to save some of these thoughts until afterwards. And
not even that. I'm not 100% sure because I think we might see a Dave Roberts punt job tomorrow, considering the relievers they used tonight. Although Trinan will be back available. I guess Banda or Vesia, who only faced the 1 hitter tonight, Vesia or Banda? One of the two.
Vesia only saw 1, 4 pitches from Vesia.
So I guess he's still available, but I do think so I'm not 100% sure. Like it's going to be kind of the underbelly of the Dodgers bullpen tomorrow. I think.
No, with all due respect to Brent Honeywell, Ben Casparius, and Landon Knack.
Well,
those guys are throwing 9 shutty tomorrow, Matt. I don't know where the disrespect's coming from. Landon Knack's redeeming himself tomorrow, baby.
I'll give you 2 of those.
Casparius 3-inning save for our guy Scott. 12-1 Dodgers tomorrow night. 12-1 Dodgers tomorrow night.
I do think there is, to Scott's point, like the pressure and just kind of the feeling of defeat and dread. Like I do think that has started to set in with the Yankees, and you could see it kind of tonight as the game was getting late. And so I feel like that will carry into if the Dodgers score in the first inning again or in the second inning and they're the first team to score, then I think those thoughts will, the Yankees will start going into the clubhouse in between innings and planning off-season vacations.
Yeah,
but that's what I was talking about. Like you expect, like when you go back home, you're able to take a breath. Like a lot of teams, like it was with the Mets series. Okay, they split it in LA, and then you go back to Citi Field, and you're like, all right, now it turns into a 5-game set. The Yankees have had down 2-0. You go back home, and guess what did they do? They go out here and put up
suffocated
2 runs. 2 runs, and then it just
it was 0. I mean, it was 2 runs with 2 outs in the 9th inning. I joked with Marcus. I joked with Marcus at the beginning. They are hitting every bingo card spot for ways to lose that suck. So option 1 was blow a lead twice and give up a walk-off home run. Option 2 is load the bases in the 9th and then pop out. And option 3 was literally get suffocated tonight and just get absolutely the life choked out of you by the Dodgers for 8 2/3. So the only thing left on the bingo card, Matt, is like an absolute 10-0 blowout. So that's just what we need tomorrow. Get the bats going, Luis Heel or whoever they throw out there. And let's get this thing rolling. Landon Knack, 6 innings strong. Casparius, 3-inning save. Just dial it in. Angela with the crazy super chat. We appreciate you, Angela. Thank you. $50 super chat to say Freddie Freeman, love.
I think she's done a few of these $50 if I'm remembering correctly. So regardless, thank you for just this one.
Matt, Freddie Freeman, assuming they win the World Series. All-timer, right? I mean, like the way we talk about Corey Seager should and will be the way that we talk about Freddie Freeman for the rest of the time, right?
I think so. I mean,
Three great World Series games with the home run, the one of the most iconic home run of basically anybody 35 and under's life. Like, this guy is putting together a postseason, which, by the way, let's not forget, in 2020, he was putting together an all-time postseason for the Braves and absolutely demolishing the Dodgers in that NLCS. So this is a guy that just does it when the lights are on.
Yeah, real quick, Nomo FOMO saying Angela moved on from Tommy Edman. So yes, she did do a $50 super chat for Tommy Edman one of the other times. So I was correct.
She's got good
Angela,
taste.
yeah.
Tommy Edman and Freddie Freeman, Angela, that's great taste. Great taste. Scott, what do you think? Oh yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, I think I don't want to answer this yet because it's not done. But one thing that I was starting to already kick around in my mind is like, where is this World Series? This World Series, in my opinion, is going to rank pretty high up the list in terms of accomplishments. And yes, like on one hand, the Dodgers have Ohtani, they have Mookie Betts, they have Freddie Freeman, they have Wilson, they have all these. I get that, but you need to look at who they have. Like Freddie Freeman is not 100%. He's the time off that they had, not playing in that final NLCS game and then getting all that rest has certainly helped, but he's still not 100%. Ohtani now, his shoulder is messed up. He's playing through it. Glass now is gone. Gavin still, like all these guys that they count. So like it's in some sense a little bit of an improbable run that they have gone on. And once it's done, like I think it's going to be interesting to see, where this sort of ranks. Back to the Freddie Freeman question. Yeah, I mean, I think he has certainly put himself at the top of, Dodgers postseason lore in terms of what he's done.
Scott, it's an interesting point that Matt makes, because if people have the conversation of how would the 2024 team fare against the 2020 team or whatever, this team, because of where they are from a health perspective, just isn't going to stack up on paper. And yet, if they win in New York, either in 4 games or 5, the teams they had to go through, beating the Padres, getting through the Mets, and then beating the Yankees, and beating them, by the way that they have, coming back from 2 games to 1 down against the Padres. I think to Matt's point, I'm not a Dodgers historian. Anybody who's watched the show for the last couple nights has given me crap for how little I know about things that happened 50 years ago.
Dates. You better be on it. Yeah, exact dates.
But that said, this is one of the biggest World Series ever, the biggest World Series of the last 40 years. The star power of Judge and Soto versus Betts and Ohtani, all of the hype around it. And if the Dodgers finish this off in 5 games or less, it's hard to argue that this isn't an all-time win, and Freddie Freeman's going to be the face of it.
So the way that I think of this, like history, every other team's got their place in history, but I can speak to the teams that I got to see live and feel the pulse. And I watch every game. We do this for a living, guys. Like we spend a majority of our time going on here, hopping on, reading, writing about it, talking about it, consuming every little bit. And chat again, I'll say this again, every single night, read and watch and remember every little thing about these guys, right? And from where this team is at, Matt, you touched on it. Tyler Glasnow, Tony Gonsolin, Clayton Kershaw, May, River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, Gavin Stone, Mookie Betts was lost for a number of period of time. Ohtani stuff, like all the pressure on him. First year in LA, first year with a big team that has postseason aspirations that you can clearly see. Having one of the worst bench groups I've ever seen halfway through the year. And it was just like, if they just get themselves back to where we know this team operates at their optimum level, they're going to roll. You get Max Muncy back in the fold. You get Tommy Edman and bring him in. You get a high-powered arm. They executed all the things that we know they do well as an organization in one time, absorbing big blows throughout the team, having enough pitching throughout them, analyzing guys they need to bring in that fit their profile, and having a manager at the helm that can do all this without getting too high, too low, and losing his cool. This, for me, I know it's easy to say now because they're 1 win away from winning a World Series. But Jeff, all the times we were like prior to the deadline and finding themselves and remembering they're the damn Los Angeles Dodgers who can bully their way with money, with talent, with, operation and process. It's the best thing it's the best run I've seen out of a team that I've been happy to cover and watch and be a fan of.
Yeah, they've answered every question. They've answered every question that has been posed. And before you guys came on, I said the thing about this team that has been so impressive, if the Dodgers go on to finish this off, I keep saying it, not taking for anything for granted here. I can never, there has never been a team that I can remember that won in the NLDS with their bullpen, the NLCS with their bats, and the World Series with their starting pitching. It's literally every member of this team has contributed. Every section of the team has contributed. And how many injuries has this team had? Vesia and Gratterall are down for the NLCS. They come back. Evan Phillips is down for the World Series, right? Like Miguel Rojas is out. Freddie Freeman's hobbled for the entirety of the NLCS. Like It's just it doesn't matter. The bullpen, does what they do in the NLDS. The offense scores 6 runs a game for like 7 straight games or whatever the number was. And then starting pitching, they've allowed 3 hits. The last 2 starting pitchers have thrown 11 innings and allowed 3 hits. Unbelievable performances up and down this group. And so it's a fun team to cover. It's a fun team to talk about. And I imagine it will be a fun team for us to remember moving forward. A couple more super chats here. Grayson says, I can't be the only one who thought the San Diego and Mets series have been more fun. Don't get me wrong. 3-0 is nice. New York looks lost. Go Dodgers. The Mets series, one of my favorite postseason series of all time, because every single game was a blowout. It's how I like my postseason games, Matt. I want no stress, no anxiety. I don't want the tying run ever coming up. I don't like 3 ball counts. I just want to be able to enjoy blowouts. And the Mets series gave me exactly that, Matt. So Mets series number 1 in my book. Yankee series number 2. And then Padres series was terrifying. That's what I got, Matt.
No,
you said this stuff has been too boring for you,
The Mets series was too boring. Like, they never had a shot. They won both. Like, which of the 2 Mets wins were on their own merit and not because Dave Roberts punted?
Yeah. Wow.
So that was boring. Like, maybe one of those 2 you could argue.
They saved us. They saved us 3 hours of stress. I appreciate Dave for that.
The Padres series was stressful, and there was a lot of, especially once they went down 2-1, it was a lot of here we go again. Jeff is going to do a post-game show after Game 4, and the Padres fans are going to be in there. We're going to have to block a bunch of people, kick them out. This one has been entertaining because you get some of the nervousness, if you will, in the beginning, right? Because the Yankees, the Dodgers are up 3-0, and not that they could be down 3-0 or that could be 2-1. I mean, it could be 2-1, right? Depending on Freddie Freeman. Like, not every night is somebody going to hit a walk-off grand slam in extra innings. Like, that's not a common occurrence. The Yankees have, the star power in their lineup to win a game. Like, obviously, like they did get here for a reason. And so there's some nervousness, excitement from that. And then as the Dodgers start to sort of put them away, then it becomes fun. And I have some thoughts about New York City as a whole that I'll hang on to until this series ends, and then we can end the West Coast East Coast debate once and for all.
It's true. 300. Freddie rifled that ball right onto his ankle. I mean, I don't want to be like any sense of a downer, but like, is there a chance Freddie Freeman's not in the lineup tomorrow? The way that ball slammed down on his foot, or do we think he's shaking that one off, Scott?
I was kind of, I was glad he didn't come out of the game, because I was like, I held my breath for sure. I'm sure nothing will feel good about that. Like, I'm sure it's just salt in the wound type of thing, but man, unfortunate timing for Fred. Yeah.
Matt, you look, the look on your face says he's grinding it out for sure.
Yeah. There's no way he's in the
There's
lineup.
no way he comes out. Yeah.
I think he'll start. If anything, like if he starts and then
actually, you're right. That was right before he went first to third, so he's fine. We're good.
He's fine. But I mean, adrenaline and then overnight smoke, like it's a little bit different. But he's in the lineup. If it starts to bother him at some point, then maybe they make a change if they really have to. But there's no chance with them being able to sweep. I think that he sits.
Charlie wants to know, does MLB still produce World Series DVDs? They haven't done one for the Rangers last year.
This is my kind of question. Thank you, Charlie. Hopefully.
I mean, look, if it's the Dodgers or the Yankees, I can guarantee you, Dodgers and Yankees, they're making World Series DVDs. All due respect to the Texas Rangers.
Well,
a lot of people in Texas, but
will they make the actual DVD though, or will it just be digital? Because if it's just digital, that's going to be annoying.
I want that DVD, man. I want to dust off my DVD player for that thing. Yeah,
exactly.
I think I have the DVD, and I don't
right
have
next to 2020.
I don't have a single thing in my house to play it.
I want a VHS tape.
Yeah, Matt. Well, yeah, seriously, Matt. Why DVD? You getting a Blu-ray version? Matt?
No. I still need the 4K, Ultra UHD. I still need that. I'm not going all the way back to VHS, but yes, we need a physical DVD. And I see people. Yes, Apple TV is doing a documentary on the World Series. I'm not. It hasn't been clear if that's in lieu of MLB doing their normal thing or if it's in addition to. Hopefully, at this point, it would be in addition to. If it had gone the other way, I would say, who cares? Just cancel it all. Nobody needs to see this again.
Oh, trust me, we're starting to batten down the hatches financially over here because we got a string of purchases that might be coming down the pipe. I went crazy in 2020. I think it'd be a little less in 2024, but no promises. A hat for sure. That's $50 immediately off the top, and sweatshirt maybe. There's another 50 to 60. A couple t-shirts here and there. All of a sudden, and then you get. We got the yearbook or whatever this thing was, and we got the DVD, and
Chat, in a month from now, Jeff's going to come on and say he had to have a difficult conversation with his daughters about why he couldn't have Christmas gifts for them, and he's going to just show them one World Series T-shirt after another.
They're going to open it up, and they're going to be like, "Oh, it's a World Series T-shirt. Oh, it's Dad's size. That's awesome. That's sorry about that. We'll just that a hat.
How's that getting
there for you? Okay, send it over here. Send it over here. That's fine." Charlie says the Freddie Freeman. It was in the same place too. Owie. He toughed it out. Bob Nightingale chiming in. Just realized Kevin Biggio likely to get a ring. There you go. Shout out to Kevin Biggio.
Taylor Trammell. He was getting. He was the big story. He was getting a ring no matter what, and he was like excited for that reality. Like not just it's kind of weird.
Look, if you're Taylor Trammell, all due respect to Taylor Trammell, there's a difference between the guy who's trying to fight for it, and it's like, hey, you know what? Like, I want to earn one on my own. And then Taylor Trammell, who's accepted the reality of his career and saying, I ain't ever earning one on my own. So we'll just, we'll cash those checks wherever they come from. So,
yes. Agreed.
Charlie says he's going to be broke when stuff comes out. So, yeah, I'm with you. Okay, we got a couple more questions. Derek wants to know, is Blake still looking for his cup? I texted him, and he's not telling us anything. He won't tell us anything about the search other than that he's filing a police report. He says. So
he's pissed.
Yeah. So there you go.
It's a very quiet Uber ride home, right to the hotel.
Yeah. Come on, let's get Blake on public transit. That's another video blog I need. I need Blake on the subway. Can you imagine?
Well, he did take the subway to the game tonight. I know that.
Okay, let's get him on that late night. Everybody's cleared out of the stadium. Blake on the Bronx subway back into the city by himself. I mean, come on. Who's not paying for that content? Live stream it, baby. Let's get that up on the Dodger Blue 1958 page. You're telling me we couldn't get 1,200 people in here to watch that, Scott? Come on.
Live stream. If people are going to tune in to watch me beat up on Blake and MLB The Show, we can watch him taking his trip from the stadium back to the
Blake
hotel.
Just on like this, just face to face, giving his thoughts on the game, answering questions on the subway.
There were so many people. The game was doing. It didn't start on time.
Hey, Blake, where's your cup? Hey, Blake, where's your cup? Hey, Blake, where's your cup? Okay, 2 food questions here. Cole says Jeff thinks pizza with egg is good pizza. We cannot trust his judgment. This is a don't knock it till you try it situation. And
this is real? I saw it. I didn't know what this was in reference to.
Weren't you the one saying this is quiche? Wasn't that you? Maybe it was Blake. There is a pizza.
That might have been a secret.
Secret person.
Yeah,
okay, yes, fair. Okay, so Mod Pizza, which is a chain. I believe you guys have Mod Pizza, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mod Pizza has one location inside the Portland airport. It is the only location that opens early enough because it's in the airport. And so they have breakfast pizza, which is normal pizza situation. But at the end of it, they take basically like scrambled egg mix or whatever, and they drizzle it over the top, throw it in the oven, and it bakes. Breakfast pizza is killer. I'm just telling you, it's not quiche. It's not mostly egg. You can put, like, most people aren't putting sauce on there, but they've got bacon, they've got cheese, all the veggies you want, and then they just dribble little scrambled eggs over the top. It cooks in the oven, and it's good stuff. So you're not trying that, Matt?
No.
Breakfast pizza. Gross. It's good. I'm just telling you, it's good. It's good. And then Matthew asks, tacos or New York pizza, Matt?
Oh, tacos. Easy.
Okay. Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love pizza, though. People said they don't like my pizza takes. I'm just telling you, breakfast pizza. Explain to me what's wrong with breakfast pizza. It is a bread product, cheese, egg, and meat. Change out pizza crust to toast burrito, or to tortilla, and everybody loves it. What'd you say, Scott?
Just have a burrito, man.
That's fine. They don't sell them at Mod Pizza in the Portland airport at 10:30 in the morning. So we gotta, we gotta make do with what we got.
You're right. Yeah. When you're up against that, sure. I mean, that's a
look. Breakfast burrito, I'm on record, is the single greatest food that exists. If it's like if top tier is breakfast burrito.
W food take for sure.
Yeah. So there you go. It's not pizza. It's basically an omelet, but it's an omelet on pizza crust. Is kind of the idea. That's all right. It's fine. Not everybody can appreciate and enjoy these things. JK, last one. MLB Central, Fox Sports, and John Smoltz need to stop giving hope to Yankees fans. Dodgers made them all look bad for all 3 games. again, I'm here for it. You want to give these people hope to believe that it's not over with. Not a tough look, enjoyable look, in my opinion, Scott.
Can I say something about like listening to Smoltz hype up? Like, I know Aaron Judge getting going for the Yankees would be such a big thing, but they say it every single at bat or every single. If the Yankees just got Aaron Judge going, it'd be a thing. It's just not happening. This is a slump that we're seeing. It takes like, you got to flip a switch after a series, but like he already didn't get that off his back after the first 2 games. It's not happening in game 3. So the Dodgers are just going to forget how they were attacking him in game 3 and just, start throwing him cookies, or he's going to hit his way out of it. There's no time for that.
Yeah.
It's a flood. Like, it's a flood. Like John Smoltz, man, like I know you're talking about Joe Davis and him saying the stuff about the 2020, but it's like, for me, John Smoltz is like the epitome of just like, if they only got Aaron Judge going, yes, we get it. Like, they'd be a better offense. Like, that's the lowest hanging fruit you got.
Yeah, it's true. Stanton is 4 for 13. Soto is 3 for 10. And Judge, I believe, is 1 for 11, 1 for 12, 1 for 12 for Aaron Judge.
They've avoided the hanging pitches. They've avoided the beach balls that the Yankees, were blasting against the Guardians. So it's a completely different ball game now.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, everybody.
I know, Jeff, I know you're about to sign off, but the chat is saying a ring for Johan Ramirez, Nabil Krismat, you are a world champion. Like, there's a bunch of random Dodgers now getting Nick Ahmed.
Ahmed.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, to see the depths that where we were at, these guys were throwing meaningful innings.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Like James Outman. They got some guys down in AAA that are, and then you've got guys like Andre Lipsius that just looked like surely they're going to come up. Didn't come up. No World Series ring for some of those guys. It's tough. Don't forget Eliezer Hernandez was
what a turnout
mentioned
tonight in here, man.
So 4,700 people, over 4,700. One of our biggest shows. Thank you. Surprise, we will be back tomorrow night. Game 4 may or may not be a party. Daniel Starkin will be here. Anthony Witrato will be here. I will be here. We got a 3-man booth for that one lined up. That might turn into a 4-man, 5-man, 6-man booth, depending on how things go in the game.
Yep.
So
they win tomorrow. I'll be hammered.
Shout out to Blake Williams. Blake, now that you're in here, I mentioned it earlier. I'm recommending a live stream on public transportation. Hop on the subway and just start filming, taking questions from the people. That's I think that will do it. We could probably get you a few bucks there and some super chats maybe. And you should join from the subway, Blake. That's what I'm saying. Start a new stream from the subway. That's what we got. So, all right, folks, that's going to do it. Nearing 2 hours. Been a blast. We will be back tomorrow night with a live show. Hopefully our last live show of the season. Let's all just cross our fingers. It's the last post-game show. Not live show. Last post-game show. I guess it'd be the last live show of the 2024 season as well, because the season would be over. We're hoping tomorrow. That is Matthew Moreno. That is Scott Geirman. I am Jeff Spiegel. Shout out to Marcus Grant for hopping on at the beginning of this show as well. Folks, enjoy the rest of your night. We don't know how many more nights we're going to have, but they're good ones. Shout out to the Dodgers. 1 win away from the 2024 World Series. Have a good night. As always, go Dodgers.